Mick Thomas, how the hell are you, my friend?
Great, man. How are you? Good to see you again.
I'm doing very good. Great to see you. It was really great to see you when you came through Columbus and did a live stand up right there in front of my eyes.
That I had so much fun, man, but I was on so many medicines. I was out of it. Like I was like Sean Finnerty was with me. We walked from Target to the club, and I was just like everything the pharmacist gave me, I was taking. I was at some stage, like I knew my timing was slower and everything, and I asked Sean to go up last as opposed to me on that one because I felt. I mean, the audience were great. I don't know if the audience knew, but I kind of knew. I didn't feel right.
Yeah, yeah, I get it, man. But I was gonna say, like, you've got your routine down because I don't think the audience really picked up on it. I mean, you weren't up there sniffling and coughing or anything, you know.
Right.
So, uh, dude, we had a great time. We had a great time. I really appreciate you having us out. My buddy Justin really enjoyed it as well, and just being able to meet you after and give you a Marvel Plus shirt, that was awesome.
Which I wear at the gym all the time, and I get
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, dude. I would everyone else you brought with you was awesome too. Sean Finnerty is hilarious, dude. That dude is awesome.
Sean knows what he's doing.
He's very good. But yeah, we had a blast doing that, and it was a good time. I'm really glad that we were able to go and that you were able to make it through. What do you come through here once a year or something like that?
Twice a year. I do my own show there around March, but then I'm also with the Irish Festival.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there this year for the Irish Festival. I got to check my schedule. I think there was a conflict of time, so we're just not going to be there this year.
Well, that's too bad. Well, I'll catch you next year for sure, man. I'll definitely be back to see you.
Without a doubt, man. Thank you.
Now, though, for the subject at hand, I got to ask you, how old are you, Mick?
I am 47.
40. Get the fuck out of here.
I swear to God.
No, you're kidding, though.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, damn, that kind of like messes up my question here. I already know the answer. So, I was going to ask you. I would never believe that, by the way. I figure we're the same age. I figure we're the same age at least. Like,
yeah,
you got to be.
Not caring it does wonders for your.
Yeah, man, you look great, dude. I would never have guessed you were 47 ever.
What were you going with?
I was going with. Did you watch the show when you were a kid? Like, was this something that you watched when you were a kid? And I imagine that.
Yeah, I was a teenager when it came out.
Yeah. So,
and it was still exciting to me from always reading the comics as a kid to finally get to see it come to life, you know. And then right from there, then the movies came out. So yeah, I just loved because the cartoon was the first introduction of any kind of movement, any kind of animation or storytelling where they had voices or what it was. But yeah, I've been into the show and I was excited about the re-release of it.
Mm-hmm. A little worried though, right? I mean, you got to be a little worried when they bring back something that you loved years and years ago and seemingly reboot it because it goes wrong sometimes.
I was worried, and it was my own fault for being worried because I read stuff on the internet. You know what I mean? Oh, they're going woke and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, let's just see it. Let me just see it. And I think one of the biggest complaints, where I don't know if you've covered it on one of the other episodes, is that they got rid of Rogue's boobs and butt.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, this is ridiculous. I'm like,
yeah.
Right.
I'm not watching it. Morph's gay and Rogue's butt isn't there anymore. I'm out.
It just blew me away from the first episode. Like, it really did. I was so impressed by it.
Yeah. And I think with the exception of maybe episode 4, because it was a little disjointed, like the show has gotten even like as great as that first episode was. It feels like it just keeps ramping it up. Like episode 5 might have been one of the greatest animated things I've ever watched. Like that was incredible.
It was phenomenal. And what I compared this show to, and nobody will ever agree with me, but for me, it reminds me of Curb Your Enthusiasm, where each week there's a separate story, but it's always connected to the big story. If that makes so, in the old, when you go back to '97 and such, one episode you had Wolverine's story, and that was just the story, and then they would do part 1, part 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it was, and then you would go back and here's Storm's story or whatever it was. This one, they have their own story within, but the story, the big picture still moves forward, like Jubilee and last week, or the week before, and that's but that still moved it forward, and it was great. I'm you're looking forward to. Like you saw Gambit's story this week, and then you you want to see what Wolverine's is going to be while the whole thing is moving forward, like Storm with her powers and that kind of stuff. So it's got everything. It covers so much in such little time. Really great.
They really did kind of age it up a little bit. It's like this is a much more. I mean, adults can really enjoy this. It's very like complex drama. There's blood in X-Men now. Like it's pretty violent. Like it's wow. And for not being like a TV mature type thing, it really like goes right up to that line, man. It's pretty good. Like just the way that they can put blood in it, can put violence in it, without crossing that line into like PG-13 or TVMA or whatever, It
really kind of covers like, so, and the stories, like you said, are kind of like adult theme. But again, it's kind of, they've done everything right with it so far, and I just hope they keep. I don't know if you saw the trailer for next week's episode.
Yeah.
I don't know how this show is with spoilers. I mean, but when you saw
no, go ahead.
When you saw the shield hit the snow, you're like, oh boy.
Yeah, and I'm of two minds about this. Like, I'm kind of happy with X-Men just being what it is, especially this animated series, without having to like bring in the Avengers and do this big crossover. Like, oh, it's all connected. But if they do it right, man, I'm all in. I don't care who they bring in. I think if they keep writing the way that they're writing through episode 5, it's going to be awesome.
I have a feeling it's going to be a flashback with Wolverine, because Wolverine was World War II.
Yeah.
So, and that would explain the snow kind of fighting where they were fighting, and I think that's going to be part of Wolverine. That again, that's just a guess, but I don't think it's going to be with what's going on in Genosha and all that kind of stuff. I just think he's going to be there as in Wolverine's flashback. That's what I see it as.
What a tease. So many people are going to be pissed if that happens. I'll be fine with it.
Me too.
But
I've read that story, and it's a great story where those two fought together in World War II. It was, great story.
They also, so in one of the episodes, it might have been like season 3, but way back in the original animated series, they did this Wolverine and Captain America story where they're in World War II. They like flash back to that. It's a whole episode, right? And so to kind of go back to that would be pretty cool, because it would be like in continuity with what we've seen in the cartoon as well.
Right. And now they've had that little bit of spice to it when it comes to the violence, and there's a whole new world that has been created so they can interject more people. That's the one thing I do like about it, how they're not being very they're giving you a lot of different characters, even if it's for turning into somebody real quick. You really get to see a lot of really cool characters that normally didn't get the light of day. Even if it's briefly, it's great. They're doing it right. So I think with the Captain America thing, I'm hoping to bring in a few more. There's a bunch of people that could bring into that story.
Yeah, absolutely. So bringing that up leads me to, I gotta say, man, they have really made other characters with a lot more depth. Namely, Cyclops is so much cooler now than he ever was on the original show.
Yeah,
like
I remember seeing him and Jean, and you're like, ugh, again, like it was just, and Jean always like bugged me, always did. It was like would move a remote control and then collapse. Right?
Yeah, she's always passing out. Yeah,
collapse, and it was like every week was the same. But this time, it's like I'll watch these two. I'll watch these two duke it out.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome, especially introducing the Madeline Pryor situation. So it's very adult, right? Dealing with these like, oh, you've been married to or sleeping with this other woman but I didn't know it. I thought it was you. Like it's pretty complex, and you can imagine the emotions that someone would have with all that going on, and then the sending their child to the future because they can't. keep him alive here. Like, oh my God, this dude's dealing with so much, which in this episode really comes to a head when he's in that interview and like just blows up on that reporter. Like, you guys are lucky to be alive with us being so powerful. Like, you're only alive by the grace of us.
Right. I like too the fact that he's got like all these superpowers. Well, just one basically, and he still has to deal with normal marriage stuff. You know what I mean? It's like he's fantasizing about his wife, and that's still not good enough for his wife. Like, she can't even. He's like, geez, what do I gotta do to keep you happy? Like, it's not like he's in there having that with Rogue or somebody.
Right. Yes. No, it's very realistic in that sense.
Oh yeah, he's getting, because I'm getting my jollies to you basically, and it's still not good enough for you. Like, what do I have to do?
Yeah. So this whole episode is built around Genosha and the fact that I don't know if they're becoming part of the UN or they're at least just being recognized by the UN as a country. They are being recognized worldwide. This is a country. It's a mutant country, and we're kind of bringing mutants into the fold here as a world. And everything's great. Like, it seems like this is a paradise. Half of the X-Men go to this kind of ceremony or whatever they're doing. There's a big gala going to happen, and everyone's just partying in the streets. It seems like a great time. But a bunch of people show up. Madeline Pryor's already there. Nightcrawler's there, which his teleportation is awesome in this iteration. I don't remember. I know he was in an episode or two back in the day, but I don't remember it looking that cool. Like, it looked pretty damn cool when he's porting around.
Yeah, in the old one, I don't think he was part of the X-Men. They just messed him at the cathedral.
Yeah. You know your stuff, man. You really did watch the original show pretty intently. I just imagine you're a teenager at the time, so like you got to make sure your friends don't know you're watching it. Like, it's like
we talk about it every Saturday.
That's
all. We used to really go crazy about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
The Genosha thing is cool, man. It was very kind of like Wakanda.
Yeah.
You know, really kind of cool. And you know, the same story. Hey, now we're going to be part of the UN. We're part of the world. The music that was playing. You know, happy. It was even the villains who were all there trying to run shit are like, they're still happy. You know, it was covered so well.
Yeah. They really did do it well. It's like, because that's what you would have if you had a place where all mutants could just live like that. Like, of course, the perceived villains, but they wouldn't feel any threat there. Like, everyone would kind of be just hanging out. This is our place now. Most of the villains, that's what they're fighting for anyway.
Exactly.
So they get there, and in Genosha, and this council wants to elect Magneto as their leader, their chancellor. And he's pretty much on board right away. But he wants Rogue to basically be like his first lady, I guess, and kind of rule with him. But she's on the fence a little bit about, she loves Gambit, obviously, but she can't touch Gambit. She wants to be with him, but she really can't. And at the same time, she thinks she could do a lot of good as, this first lady of Genosha, right? So she's of two minds about it.
What's the age gap between Rogue and Magneto?
I don't know, man. It's got to be, because let's see, Rogue, I feel like
he has to be like late 70s at this stage.
Yeah, he's got to be at least, I mean, let's think. Back in the 80s when Rogue was introduced, she was a villain originally. Mm-hmm. And I don't think she was like a young teen. I think she was already a woman.
Okay.
So and you got to think Magneto at the time, God, yeah. Magneto's perpetually been like 65 years old, right? So he's
a survivor, right? So it's like he's really getting up there.
Yeah, and that leads me to wonder, like, what they're going to do when they do go to live action with this X-Men. Is like, are they going to have to revamp that story? Because the Holocaust survivor Magneto would be like 96 years old. Like, he'd be a really old guy. Even if he was a kid during the Holocaust, he'd be near 90, right? So, I don't know. That's pushing it a little bit. I think they might have to play with his origin a little bit.
Yeah, they'll just write it. Something to do with mutation doesn't, all you got to do is just write it real quick, just very simple, just, he's a mutant. He doesn't age that well or whatever it is.
Yeah. he ages differently. No, that'd be good.
The magnetic current in his body rejuvenates, or
Yeah.
it's who are we? We're not scientists.
We don't know. He's not that old. So, but as I said earlier, the show is so friggin' it's so dramatic, man. It's like a soap opera mixed with an action packed film, right? Like you just got everything in there. You got several dramatic things going on in the episode. You got Scott flipping out on the TV reporter. He's clearly getting fed up. Kind of looks like he's, starting to see the error in Xavier's way, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe this isn't such a great idea. And I'm sure this episode is going to solidify that with Cyclops. Like he was already teetering towards like Magneto was right, and he's about to just go all the way, I think. I think they're gonna play with, Cyclops as the villain sort of going forward.
That makes sense.
You've got Rogue and Gambit, their drama, right? He wants to be with her, but then at the same time he's acting like, well, it would never work out between us anyway. I'm a Rolling Stone, whatever, and we can't touch whatever. And then she ends up basically deciding she's going to go be with Magneto and run Genosha. And then you also got the Cyclops and Jean and Madeline Pryor love triangle going on with the psychic cheating and the, I guess, cheating, right? And, it's an emotional affair. So he's having a psychic affair with Madeline Pryor. Jean's jealous, but at the same time, 10 minutes earlier, Jean's kissing Logan.
Right.
So,
water. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What is she? How does she have a leg to stand on?
It's just double standards, and Scott is cheating on her with her. You know,
right?
I mean? With a dwarfish, like hairy looking guy. It's like,
yes. So, now during this big gala, the celebration, the Cable shows up for like 10 seconds. Just to apologize, right? Oh, he just shows up in the middle of the party outside, apologizes to Madeline Pryor.
Right.
And she recognizes that this is her son. Like she figures it out just by looking in his eyes. And that was awesome. On the original show, they never gave us much about Cable being their child. And so it was really cool to actually see that here. Like, oh, she's recognizing that that is her son come back from the future. But he basically, it's almost a warning, but not really. It's like, sorry, I screwed up and I can't help you. And then he just leaves. Right. And so you're already like, something's coming. Something's about to happen.
So I kind of felt there was something there that pulled him back. I think maybe he on a charge that he's had, because he has these charges.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he only had a temporary one, so he didn't get enough time to stick around, or so. I felt he left too for it to be deliberate. I mean, I could be wrong. But I kind of, that's what I got from, because it looked like he came in and all of a sudden, quick sorry.
Yeah.
He's not going to come back in time just to say, you know what I mean? Sorry, real quick. And
right.
I don't know. Again, that's what
I think it was there at least to like warn her, tell her something important. And then you're right. I think it was like, oh no, this is only going to last a few more seconds. I'm sorry.
Right.
Sorry, I couldn't stop it, But I love the way they did this attack. I mean, it had to have caught everyone watching off guard, right? There's a party, everyone's having a great time, and all of a sudden there's just this massive whatever. It's not even an explosion, it's just like a bright light, and then all of a sudden everything's demolished. People are dead, bleeding everywhere. I mean, it's like a legitimate, like a terrorist attack right here on X-Men the animated series. So what did you think, man? Did that catch you off guard like that? Was it like you're watching it and you're like, huh?
It was shot really eerie too. It was like there was silence, and then all of a sudden, you hear a bang. You're like, wow! And I've seen that done in, like you said, movies with terrorist attacks before, and I was like, wow, that was crazy, and it was really eerie, and it was just, I don't know, it was just kind of like it kind of makes you, if you have something in your hand, whatever, like you just literally jaw dropped and like, what is this? Like, what?
Yeah,
it was great. It was great. It really kind of took me off guard to the point where I thought it was going to be an explosion, and then they come, and like here comes it was just like within a second, most of the island are gone. Most, and I'm the people on it.
Yeah,
great.
How cool is this giant 3-headed sentinel that's just demolishing things?
It's another master mold. It was just spitting out center, right and center. It was so good.
And it was so overwhelming. Like Magneto couldn't stop it. No one could, like, the best they could do was to hold it back or run. That's what was so great. It was like, it was an overwhelming force. They're just everyone's getting demolished. So, and the battles, the action in this series is just so fantastic. Every episode, whenever they have an action sequence, it's like off the charts.
Yeah, like, I remember watching, like, I'd even watch the Spider-Man movies, and as they're fighting in the air, and he's pulling things from the, as part as he's fight, you think, who's writing choreography of this? Because, like, you would think it's just punch and kick and spin a web, but some of the things you watch in the Spider-Man movies, you're like, who thought of being able to pull that up and then jump off this, and that's what this had. Like, I think, especially with Gambit on like for this episode in particular.
Oh yeah.
Just the mind of whoever's doing the choreography of the fight scenes, and he's just amazing. Like, just boring punch, duck, kick. Let me throw a rock at you. I'll blow that rock. It was just, like, everything. It's just nothing's predictable about it.
Yeah, which was kind of like the original series. That was one thing it was missing, right? Back in the 90s, it was like, for one, every fight was like throwing each other around. That was just the violence that they could put on Fox Kids, right? Wolverine popped his claws, never stabbed anyone. He just threw people or got thrown.
I remember in the 97, I don't remember the episode, but the coolest thing I think that happened in relation to a fight was Wolverine casually jumped off a building, fell through a van, and just opened the doors and walked out. And I think that was the most violent. And you're like, wow. Like, that was cool looking to see, but this had, and that was all it had. Because, like you said, it's Juggernaut would pick someone up by the leg and throw them, and instead of like if you wanted to, you could almost go like Deadpool and just rip him in half, right? It was always that kind of stuff. They never really went into the violent aspect of it, but this show, like, they don't shy away from it.
Oh yeah, just the introduction of blood makes it so much more. Like, the stakes seem so much higher. It feels like these people can actually get hurt. Where on the original series, it didn't seem like anyone could get hurt. They had all the humans had like rifles, but they never shot bullets. They shot like laser beams.
I always remember that, watching that. Like, how do these people from just where are they getting their hands on electrical guns?
Yeah, where is that from? So, crazy epic battle, and by the end, several people might be dead. Like, we don't have complete confirmation on everything, but main characters, man. Magneto, presumed dead. Nightcrawler is either dead or critically injured. And for sure, Gambit is gone.
Yeah, that was... I was in two minds of that. Number one, I loved that it happened because they did it, right? And I always loved Gambit. I got a bunch... I'm surprised the comics never took off. The writing they did for the Gambit series, and they did Gambit and Wolverine comic for a while, and it just never took off. But he's without a doubt one of the coolest characters. But I thought, I was worried about it because I as a wrestling fan, former pro wrestling fan, I just don't have time to watch anymore. I don't have 3 hours a night. But it was like, when someone, like when Ric Flair would retire, and all of a sudden, Ric Flair's retired. But then, like 4 weeks later, he's on another thing, wrestling. It's like, oh, come on, man. This was supposed to be a big moment. So I almost like want to see Gambit stay dead for the emotion he had. But like, you kind of want it. You might feel like, oh, you just brought him back because you wrote it in that he ducked it or somebody came back. And I mean, I'm okay if you want to come back and prevent it. If you want to do one of those, like a Days of Future Past. Like, if you do that, that's not kind of like easy writing, it was like, and then it was all like, I mean, like, but I kind of hope they keep him gone for the effect, like, of how good it was and how, like you said, the stakes are so high in it now. But also, you're going to miss the shit out of him. He's such a cool character. Yeah,
and just finally getting, like, they definitely gave him a moment before he went out, so they might just keep him gone, man. I think in the comics there was a time when Apocalypse like raised Gambit from the dead and made him a horseman. I wonder if, like, maybe they just keep him dead this whole season, and then in a next season, Apocalypse does that or something like that. That would be the way to do it, to really have it like have an effect. But if Cable comes back again, or Bishop shows up and saves the day and fixes the timeline, I don't know, man. It's like it's been done so many times. I think for the dramatic effect, you keep him dead at least for a while.
I like the apocalypse. I like the apocalypse idea too. But like that was one of the things they did last year too, which really annoyed me. The last show, the last 97, the original.
Yeah.
You got rid of Morph right away, and then Beast spent the whole jail.
Yeah, the whole first season when he was in jail.
Like, what are we doing? Like, it's so I kind of like the idea Gambit's gone, but coming back as one of the four horsemen is pretty cool. It's idea as opposed to the original ones that came back from the original series.
Yeah. So like I said, they gave him a great send off though. Like you said, charging that bike while jumping through the air and launching it into the Sentinel's face. Like,
yeah,
who thinks of that, right? That is awesome.
He took Rogue out to save her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. He hits Rogue with the bike. That was crazy. Because
he couldn't just hit with a regular bike. He had to hit her with a charged bike.
Right. Doesn't seem necessary. Maybe there's a little bit of that, like, little anger from the Magneto choice going on there, and he's like, I can hit her a little harder on my way out.
Pretty tough.
Yeah.
Man. I maybe the regular bike would have just bounced off her, because you have to understand too, when she was flying, there was metal coming at her. It was just bouncing off her. She was just flying through it. So maybe the charge one is what he needed to take her out.
Yeah. It was cool. I was thinking he hit the Sentinel with it because, like, that's what you imagine would happen. Right. But no, he blasts Rogue out of the way with it. And I was like, why would he hit Rogue? And I'm like, oh yeah, Rogue's like impervious to anything. Like, of course, it just knocked her out of the way. She's fine. But that final scene, man, with Rogue holding a dead Gambit in her hands, they're both covered in blood. Like, wow, man, what a scene. And she's crying. Right. It's like,
I can't.
This isn't.
She finally gets to touch him.
Yep. That's rough, man.
Yeah, but the part two, which was one of my favorite quotes, was from the original one. The name is Gambit. Remember it.
Yes, that was such a great callback.
There's so many quotes from the other show that I can't remember, like the original show, but I always remember that one.
Yeah.
I remember that one, and it was just like, what a way for him to go out like that. Just the name is Gambit. Remember it. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah. And it was funny. It was so good, and I didn't even see it coming. Even with the title of the episode being "Remember It," I'm like, what is this going to mean? Are they playing with memories? What are they doing here? What are they going to do? Yeah. And I didn't expect that at all.
And then it ended like The Sopranos. It just went black for a moment.
Just off. Yes.
Silence, which kind of leads me to believe that he's gone. Like, it's like, let's give him a moment of silence, as opposed to let's just burn the carpet. There's a bit of music, and the music was even somber for the very somber too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did it really well, man. And like I said, it's been getting, with the exception of episode 4, because it was a little off compared to the other ones. I just think it's gotten better. The only worry for me is where can they go next? But every time I think of that, they top it with the next episode. So
yeah,
here's hoping that they continue on that trend.
Right. I believe they'll talk about something that will bring, and I think that's where Captain America will come into. I don't think it's the modern Captain America. I just think it's the old flashback. It's going to be flashbacks, and maybe it'll bring him back into it. I don't know. Maybe someone will. I don't know I don't know how they're going to bring him into, but I think next week is going to be about Wolverine whilst moving the story along. I'm excited for it.
Well, it's time too. I think that it was, I think it's been a good thing to have Wolverine so far take a backseat and really focus on making Cyclops a deep character, and Storm, and focusing on all these other characters so hard. If you've noticed, Wolverine is left back at the mansion every single episode.
Nothing great about him, and he's the coolest character without a doubt, and he's getting no airtime. I'm okay with it. Knew it was a good show. The one with Mojo, which I know you didn't like that much, but I hated Jubilee from the very start. In any movie, any comic, in any graphic novel, anything. Because what's her power? She just breaks your DVD player for whoever had a DVD player, right?
Yep.
And this one, actually, not when you get a chance to see what her powers could be, it was like even Jubilee did So to the point, the fact that you can leave like your favorite character Wolverine in the back and still be extremely interested and excited by it, they know what they're doing. It's great. It's great. They've only got 5 more, and hopefully they don't mess it up.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like you said, I think they'll probably do a more Wolverine-centric episode, and it might be this one coming up because, I know that the final 3 episodes are a 3-parter.
Right.
We've got to do the second part of Storm Story still.
Right.
So I think we've got that's the next 3. It's got to be, right? Like, so maybe one of those of the 3-parter has to do with Captain America. Maybe that's not going to be in the very next episode.
I thought there was 10 episodes.
Yeah, where are we at?
I thought we were 5 in, no?
Okay, yes, you're right. So
yeah.
That's a good prediction then. So
when I'm out nerding you today, this is not good.
I know. What's going on? Well, apparently you have 8 more years on me. So I didn't even know this when we started out the damn episode.
The American education system has failed you. You're not up to date.
And apparently, it apparently made me look much older than I should. So we've got episode 6. That would be a good call. A Wolverine-centric episode, bringing Captain America. Episode 7, finish that Storm Story, or vice versa. And then 8, 9, 10 be like the crescendo, right? The final 3 episodes. I'm excited for that. I'm excited, especially I'd love to see a Wolverine-centric episode. That would be great, because he has been in the background so far this season. I'm like a massive Wolverine fan. Like this is I got this at the live show the other day, which, by the way, good job with this episode, because I basically told the audience that your episode would make up for the fact that I fumbled the live show. I fumbled the live show, but Mick Thomas will be here, so it's all right. So you did well. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for not putting on a bad show here. You've done great. Yeah, and I guess there's like 3 more. Like, there's already orders for 2 more seasons of this show,
right,
which is awesome news. And gives us hope that maybe they will leave Gambit dead for a while. They've got plenty of time to bring him back now. They don't have to bring it back right away and take away all that drama that we just loved so much by bringing him right back. I hope that's the case.
I do think, I know from what I saw, and I saw a picture of it too, of Doctor Strange is supposed to pop up in this.
Really?
It's only a rumor, but somebody showed a picture of it. But also they think, because this is so successful, that Spider-Man 97, they want to bring that back. As a result, if you remember, the X-Men were in Spider-Man 97, not the other way around. Yep. Spider-Man never came over that way. So,
right.
And I remember Gambit had like a blue mask on, the very same.
Yeah.
But there's chances of bringing Spider-Man into this, not this season, but maybe next season, to kind of get him ready for his show. So there's so many possibilities.
That would be good, because I know that they were working on a Spider-Man freshman year show or something like that, an animated show originally. But I think with kind of all the crazy stuff going on at Marvel Studios, and them realizing what they were doing wasn't quite working anymore, and that they needed to take a step back and put out less content, but really good content. Like,
right.
I hope that they don't get high on their own supply again, and then just, this is working, let's put out a bunch of these, and then take away from that. But I'd be happy to see Spider-Man the animated series, revamped, bring it back, start it just like this show, right where it left off. Yeah, I'd be happy to see that.
Spider-Man shows with the Venom series, with the Carnage series, like, they were all Adam Webb, all fantastic. They were all great to be able to revisit those now with a new fresh. And then the thing is too, we all know who they are now. Like, even I wouldn't be surprised if they bring back in a flashback episode. I don't know if you ever saw Wolverine versus the Hulk.
The animated?
Yeah, the animated movie.
Yeah. Yes.
You have Deadpool. Yeah. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought back Deadpool into the X-Men based on how he's coming into the Marvel universe, the Disney universe now as it is.
Yeah.
So they can go any direction with that, whatsoever.
Now I want to see if you feel the same way as me, as strongly as me about this. But for me, I think that Marvel Studios has an opportunity here to really bring the MCU back to
Right.
like greatness, like people wanting to go to the theater every single time to see the movie. Everyone's there on opening night. It's a big event.
Right.
Like that hasn't been like that since Endgame. It hasn't been that much hype around it since Endgame, and with reason. Nothing has been as big or as awesome as Endgame or as good as those first three phases. There's been some good stuff here and there,
Yeah,
but
I
nothing
think
that really compares with the
No Way Home
beginning.
closest.
What's that?
No Way Home, I think, was the closest to a lot of buzz around the Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, and I think a lot of that was all the speculation about will they or won't they show up? Will the other Spider-Man be there? And I get that, and that's kind of what I feel like the hype is going on with Deadpool as well. Like who all could show up in this? It's like a multiverse movie. You've got a different universe Wolverine showing up. It could be
I think it's just not
something like that.
I think the Deadpool Wolverine is, I think, because they use the old Sabretooth. I think because remember Deadpool ends with him with the time travel. I don't think it's a different universe. I think he just went back, and that's the Wolverine he faces, and that's the Sabretooth and Toad he faces just from that original
Okay,
one.
that could work. I mean, because yeah, I don't know how they're going, because obviously they're using the TVA in that, like from the Marvel universe, and they deal with different timelines and stuff, but they also deal with time travel, right?
Out of a TVA, you're right.
But it's also could be just time travel. It could be like we got to send you back to like this got screwed up. You got to go back. You got to go back because the Deadpool that Wolverine fought in X-Men Origins, nobody likes that. So we need you to go back and do it again. All right. I think the Deadpool Wolverine movie is going to be huge, and I think if they play it right, they can make the X-Men the forefront of the MCU going forward.
Right.
And really bring it back, man. I think people are, as much as some people enjoy some of the stuff that's going on right now in the Marvel timeline, the story that's going on, the multiverse and all that, I think people are ready for introductions to brand new people, right? Just like if you could do what they did with the Avengers and how they introduced them before they brought them together into a big team movie and then just kept building that story. If you could do that with the X-Men, I think you get the audience back, man.
Well, I just finished, and I said that I believe it's a bold statement, right? So bear with me. But when you go back and rewatch Days of Future Past, that is up there with Endgame in relation to how well it was written.
Yeah. No, it was really is one of the best X-Men movies.
It was perfect, and they built it up over years and years as well with different characters and that kind of stuff too. And then went kind of sideways with the Phoenix, and that didn't make sense. They messed up their own timeline by killing Raven, and that didn't add up. And I can live with that person doesn't look like that person, and where did Storm's Egyptian accent go to? Like I can live with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But when you killed off a character and you made her so big in the prequels, like a massive character, and then all of a sudden she's this throwaway hot chick in the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think Days of Future Past was right up there. When you rewatch it, you go like, wow, this is as complex as Endgame.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that movie. And that this doesn't take anything away from like the fact that I want to see the X-Men in the MCU and what they could do with their version doesn't take anything away from a lot of the X-Men movies that I loved, that I enjoyed as they were coming out. Like the first X-Men in the theater, if you look at it now, it's like, man, they really they just didn't trust that this stuff could be popular. They put them all in black suits. They wouldn't go, bright and colorful. They didn't make it. It was very of its time. They made it, everyone looked like the Matrix. It's like we got to make this cool because people are going to think it's a kid movie. We got to make it cool.
Right.
But I think that overall, for that being the first introduction of live action X-Men, pretty damn good, man. And then X2 just upped the ante. It was an even better film than the first one. So there's a bunch of those X-Men movies that are actually really good.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. But I just finished them. I just finished this. When I run on the treadmill, I watch a half an hour of a movie a day, and I go, you know what? Let me just go back and start on X. I just finished that last week actually, and I'm like, wow, I forgot how great these were.
Yeah, it's a solid franchise, man. It just people forget how good it is because of the MCU and how novel that was. And I think a lot of kids grew up nowadays, you know, they're adults now, but they grew up with the MCU as their comic book movie storyline. And X-Men was a little before their time, but I think it's a great opportunity to capture that audience with the X-Men. The people that grew up with the Avengers films, introduce them as adults to the X-Men and just how great the X-Men are for story. Like for me, I was never an Avengers guy ever. I don't think I bought an Avengers comic book growing up. I was an X-Men guy.
I would buy like I like Thor a lot. I would buy like Thor. I never bought an Iron Man really. I bought some Captain America based on who whatever the story was at that season, who was in it. Yeah, but I was very, very, and I would buy their graphic novels, their annual thing every year, but never just buying all the Avengers stuff up.
Yeah. So if they can do what they did with those characters, imagine what they could do with the X-Men. Was and probably still has been the top selling superhero comic book from like since 1975. It's just continued being, you know, the top of the heap. So if you can do that with B and C list Avengers characters, what can you do with the A list X-Men?
Yeah,
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I really think it's possible to turn this thing around, and the X-Men are the key to it.
I think what would help them turn around is if shown they can do it. If they do what DC's animated movies are next, and they're so good, you know.
Yes.
And if Marvel do that too, like they did with Hulk versus even with Hulk versus Thor is another one. Wolverine, you don't have to make them as violent because obviously I know they know who their audience is, but if you get to that where it's just, hey, here's the cool story, cool animation, you can pull back on the F-bombs, you can pull back on ripping arms off if you want to, but like if DC has never missed on is the animated movies, and they keep turning them out. Yeah,
and they're good every time. Sometimes they even repeat the same story, and it's like, oh, it's still good every single time. Love DC animation. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a massive Batman fan. Love that. I love Batman, dude. Ooh, and so, yeah, anytime they make one of that, when they did the Long Halloween and the Hush movie, and I liked also that they changed the story a little bit from the comics. So if you read Hush, the killer at the end is not the same as it is in the animated film, which is good for readers. It tricks you.
So now that I have you on DC, did you talk about this already? What did you think of the Joker trailer? Joker 2.
I didn't watch it yet. So somebody told me, they said somebody told me like, well, it's a thing. It definitely looks artistic.
I don't like the look of it.
I was gonna say, I from the beginning have not been on board with the idea of it being a musical.
Yeah, if you want to keep that for another episode yourself, I don't want to dive too much into that now. But it looks like there's a lot of like, let's get into their head and they see things. Like for example, like when you go into Deadpool's head and he sees like unicorns, or what was the guy that they ripped off of Deadpool? What was his name in The Boys?
I don't remember his name.
Actually, because they rip off so many characters, and that's what's funny about the show. I think it's Namor. Namor, is that it? His name is Namor.
Noir.
Yeah. So
Noir.
People are yelling at their consoles right now. Sorry, guys, for not getting that name. But he sees in cartoons, right? So they're looking at like Harley Quinn and the Joker. I think they think in, because there's so many parts of it where they meet each other and they have a great connection, and you can tell that's not part of a musical. But then you see, so I think that's how you see inside their minds, and I don't really like it. I don't like when you music to, like what was that movie with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, Spirited, the Christmas movie? Yeah. 4 or 5 songs that weren't great, and it didn't do anything. The story was great without the songs, and I just felt like songs are good. So I mean, I'll go see it. Of course, I'm a fan. Like, you have to trust the fact that they know what they're doing. But the trailer just didn't like me at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch it after this because you're the second person I heard go, I don't know, man. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Did you see the trailer? Staying on DC for 1 second before I let you go here. Did you see the trailer for The Penguin for HBO Max?
I didn't. I usually don't have TV shows that are come off movies. It's very kind of behind, because you know what it is. It's going to be a bunch of mentioning Batman without seeing Batman.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I always hate gratuitous mentions of superheroes, like, you know, like
right.
When I watched the show Gotham, you know, do you remember? I couldn't get through it, and I had two friends who were actors in that show, and I couldn't even watch their episodes. Like, I just couldn't. Like, small parts. They play detectives and background cops and whatever, and I just couldn't watch it. It was stuff like when he's talking to Enigma, like, do you know you always talk in riddles? I'm like, come on, like, we're better than that. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of stuff that I didn't like.
The only reason I have so much hope for this, because I agree with you on that, like putting shows about these side characters and making them the main character of a thing, it doesn't usually work, especially though when you have to make it for a TV audience, like a CW audience.
Right.
However, where I think this will work, they could even go darker than they did in Batman because it's on Max. Like, this could be a pretty adult show.
True.
But the way it looks is like a serious mob crime thriller. Like, watching the trailer reminded me a lot of Goodfellas.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So I'll send you over the link so you don't forget to watch it. But check it out and see what you think of that. Get back to me. But I will let you go. I told you I'd get you out of here by 5:30, and so I'm a man of my word. Thank you, man, for so much. Yeah, thank you for coming on. Thanks for having us out to your show. It was a blast.
Anytime. I have a blast. Anytime you need me to come on here, I talk about this all day long. Trust me, it's fine.
Great, man. I love it. So yeah, I would love to have you back, you know, for more X-Men, more whatever. But since knowing now that you're a big X-Men fan in general and that you were a fan of the comics and stuff, that's even greater. I want to keep having you back, man.
I'm around, man. Just let me know.
And thanks for saving this episode, because you coming on and having a good episode here with me, a great discussion, maybe makes up a little bit for me forgetting to hit record on the live stream the other day.
And if I the amount of times I've messed up my own podcast, trust me, it happens all the time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and honestly, it was a great show. It was a great show. It was a bigger turnout than I'd ever had. The audience was super engaged. I loved it. I just wish I had captured it for the live audience, but I mean, for the audience at home. But
right.
What are you gonna do? You know, do it better next time, right?
You just go back and do it again, man. Those live ones are there's something. And it's about that too. Even though we didn't get to see it or hear it, those people who are part of that's theirs now, and that can't be taken from them. Show that you had just for them. That's their own show now. Nobody else got to experience that. So trust me, it was probably a blessing in disguise for the people who were there. So good job. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for the encouragement. I will be reaching out soon, man, to get you back on here to talk some more X. I'm around. All right, later, man. Be good. Bye-bye.